In this tutorial, we will cover monitoring or detecting applications for vulnerable libraries. It would be incredibly time-consuming to manually review each jar file our application uses, and then compare these jar file versions against the National Vulnerability Database. So as an alternative to the manual approach, our goal is to monitor these libraries in an automated fashion. Before we continue, we would like to state that the tools shown in this video are not an endorsement of said tools, but rather a guide to the options available to Java developers. You should always seek internal approval and guidance as to whether or not these solutions are acceptable for use in your environment. The first tool we'll review is not actually for Spring or Java at all. This is a tool that checks for outdated JavaScript libraries, which is incredibly important. Often, the version of jQuery or some other JavaScript library an application is using has some important security flaw that requires an upgrade, but the development staff is unaware. Retire.js helps to solve the problem. I'll demonstrate using the command line tool. Installation is very easy. Type npm install-g retire, and the module will install globally. Next, point retire at the directory you would like to scan, and it will return the vulnerable version number of the library as well as the path it is located under, along with a link to more information about the bug. In terms of open source tools, we do have one option, and that is Dependency Checker. This is an open source tool to detect insecure libraries in Java software as well as other types of software. To run the tool, fire it up and point it at the directory you would like scanned. We will use the dependency check shell file, specify a project name, pass the scan option along with the location of our MoneyX application on our file system, and provide a location in order to write the results of the scan. When we open the project file, we see the dependencies or jar files that were scanned and contained vulnerabilities. For example, the Android NV API jar uses Botic CSS 1.7, and when we click on the CVE link, the National Vulnerability Database states that the library is vulnerable to a XML external entity reference issue. Additionally, it provides the version which is not vulnerable to this issue, 1.8 and above. In summary, while there are always new tools and services evolving to meet the demands of the development world, the point here is not necessarily to focus on the tools. Instead, focus on the concept. Before this tutorial, were you thinking about evaluating your JavaScript libraries, or were you singularly focused on Java libraries? Remember, any library your application uses or runs on, whether a system library, application library, framework library, or otherwise, be sure you have a process or system in place which monitors, detects, and alerts you to potential weaknesses in your application or web server components. This concludes your tutorial on identifying OWASP's A9 or Using Components with Known Vulnerabilities category.